What is the most important nutrient to make sure that the body is getting during pregnancy? Some people might say it's vitamin D. They probably wouldn't be wrong. Vitamin D is very powerful in its epigenetic effects on creating a new baby. But I think there is something that is just as important, if not more important, and that is the category of long-chain omega-3s, specifically EPA and DHA. Now keep in mind, these are different from the short-chain omega-3, ALA, that you would normally find in plant foods. Like let's say you're having chia seeds or hemp seeds. These are going to have a good amount of ALA, alpha linoleic acid. This can be converted, a small amount, to the long chain, to the EPA and the DHA, but not enough. It's not going to cover your needs, especially as a pregnant mother. So why are EPA and DHA so important here? So when we look at the research and the outcomes that have been found, increased intake of EPA and DHA during pregnancy are shown to prevent preterm labor, lower risk of preeclampsia, increase birth weight, and also lower the mother's risk of depression. Now these are two different ones, EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA. I forgot that one, but anyways, EPA specifically is supporting the heart, the immune system, and the inflammatory response in the body, keeping down inflammation. Then when you look at DHA, this is really great for the brain, the eyes, and the central nervous systems, which is why it's so important for both pregnant and lactating women. Omega-3s are essential for healthy neurological activity and also for neurological development of a baby and visual development of a baby. You look at our Western diets though, where is this stuff coming from? Where are you naturally in a food going to find omega-3s? Well, for most people, not much. Maybe somebody's on a vegan or vegetarian diet and they're not getting it unless they're having algae oil, a particular kind of algae oil, which is very rich in EPA and DHA. You can also find specific marine phytoplankton, which will have some, but marine phytoplankton doses are generally so small that even if you have a particular marine phytoplankton product that's very high in EPA and DHA, percentage-wise, like let's say you get something that's 10% EPA and DHA, but the amount of marine phytoplankton you're going to actually be consuming is so small that the net amount of EPA and DHA you get is relatively small as well. So when we look at then towards the more mainstream diets, well, you're probably going to be missing out on it a lot as well, because you would get it generally from wild-caught fish and from grass-fed meats, but most people who are eating fish and meat aren't getting those, right? They're having farm-fed fish that are fed a totally unnatural diet, and then they're having grain-fed industrialized meats. Neither of those are doing you a whole lot of favors. So this is something that ideally you can get from very high quality, like for example, like a wild-caught salmon, or maybe you're having some really high-quality pasture-raised grass-fed meat. But then, especially in this kind of circumstance where you have an elevated need for these long-chain omega-3s, it's really good to be taking it as a supplement. And then omega-3s are also used after birth by the mother to make breast milk. And so this has a lot to do with why in many cases, mothers from the first pregnancy to the second pregnancy to the third become increasingly depleted because they're perhaps not supplementing properly. And it's been found actually in research that adding EPA and DHA to the diets of pregnant women has a positive effect on the visual and the cognitive development of the baby. So it's really a win-win all around. And they've also shown that higher consumption of omega-3s by the mother during pregnancy leads to reduced allergies in infants. And then in terms of the health of the pregnancy overall, omega-3 fatty acids have a good effect here too. These are going to lower risk, as I said, of preeclampsia. They're going to increase birth weight. And on the other side, if you don't have these, I don't like to generally focus on the negative side of things, but deficiency in omega-3s is associated with things like increased risk of depression for the mother. And so this risk compounds with each pregnancy because the body is, of course, from an evolutionary standpoint, going to prioritize the health of the baby. So whatever omega-3s you happen to have, if they're limited, are going to go to the baby because you want to make the healthiest baby possible. They may not be enough, but whatever you have will go in that direction. ideally you have plenty for you and the baby and can maintain your health through each pregnancy. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can get these long-chain omega-3s. We talked about the food sources, but let's look at how we can get it in supplements. So the most common way would be fish oil, which is really good. You can get a very clean, pure, sustainably harvested fish oil. Something like Carlson's is a great example. And that's relatively affordable. You can get it in a liquid, so you don't have to deal with swallowing capsules. But in pregnancy, this is such an important time that even if it costs a little more, I'm inclined to say, let's go for the absolute highest quality possible. And I think you're looking at it in that direction with your question as well. So for that reason, I would say you want to look towards krill oil. With EPA and DHA, they cannot be absorbed just as that fat as it is. You have to have that fat bound up to another vehicle, like for example, a phospholipid, to carry it in. When you look at krill oil is what's called phosphorylated omega-3s. It already has these phospholipids, and so you're getting about 2.5 times better absorption of those omega-3s with krill oil as you would get with fish oil. So there's really something special there. These phospholipids allow those fatty acids to mix with water. So unlike the structure of these fats as they're found in fish oil, you're getting much better absorption. So to me, that's the optimal way to go. The other one thing I want to mention that's worth adding in during pregnancy is something like salmon roe. This is a great way to get effectively a whole food source of these omega-3s in very high levels, and this is something you could look at. For example, Vital Choice, you can buy like a tray of it and it comes frozen. They overnight it to you. It's on dry ice, really well done, and you defrost just enough at a time, and it comes in these little sections. So you can defrost a bit and defrost a bit and defrost a bit as you go, and be having that every day through your pregnancy. So this is the guide to pregnancy and EPA and DHA and omega-3s, where to get them. If this has been helpful for you guys, and I hope it has, or if you found it just interesting or entertaining, do me a favor, please go ahead and click that like button below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, come subscribe and follow us and check us out. We are always posting lots of really interesting content here that I hope can help you and your family live a happier and a healthier life. And if you are taking some form of EPA or DHA, some form of a krill, algae oil, fish oil, leave a comment below. I'm curious to know what you're doing, what effects you may have noticed from it, what your overall experience has been. And if you have any questions, pop them in there as well. So thank you guys again so much for joining me. Hope you all have a beautiful day and look forward to seeing you guys again soon.